That is why, for example, people like Bob Marley, Peter Tosh, and all the reggae artists would sing about the various kinds of movements that were going on in Africa.
Right.
Anti-apartheid movement, anti-colonial movement, and of course, many of the fighters, the soldiers in Africa will tell you the inspiration they got from listening to these kinds of songs that would talk about the struggle against the oppressors, and as well, you know, and reminding them that victory is possible and is not too far away. These are things that need to happen again for African people. So once again, we're talking about resurrection of courage. That's what African people need, as well as resurrection and redemption for the love of freedom. We have lost that.
But how's that going to come? Spontaneously or?
Well, you know, Marcus Garvey suggested that African people will wake up when our backs are against the wall. I would like to think that African people are a little bit better than that. I would like to think that we recognize that we have some divine gifts. I talk about intellect, I talk about the right to choose, and the consciousness, the gift of consciousness that we have that makes us a little bit better than the lower animals. I'm saying, just like, you know, we talk about Hannibal, the great general,
right.
The great African general. Just like Hannibal was able to outmaneuver the Europeans in those days, in the same way we have that capacity. The problem is that we have been psychologically tied down to accept our rules as the underclass of the world. That's something that we need to change. We need to begin to cultivate self-esteem, self-love, and we need to learn what it is to be somebody's again. When we learn to do that, I think that will happen. But how is that going to happen? I think we have to carry out an educational campaign. That's what I do. That's why I do what I do. And I'm pretty sure that that's why you're doing what you're doing, because you know, divine speech, you know, I'm pretty sure is helping a lot of your audience to understand what's going on. And of course, for those of us who are, for those in the audience who are listening, we ask them to carry the message forward. Because too often, some of us learn things and keep them to ourselves. We have to begin to share the information and find ways and means of moving information amongst us, pertinent information.
Now, we have assaults on so many fronts. We got religious assault, political assault, got Europe, you know, sending us Christianity, even though Christianity left Africa and went to Europe. We got the Arabs, you know, bombarding it with Islam, but we have our traditions. Is it time for us to get our religious freedom?
It's more than time. It's long overdue, and that's one of the greatest challenges that black people will have to deal with. Because the moment you question any of these foreign religions that African people subscribe to, you are accused of being a heretic or blasphemer or something like that. Because that's built into the propaganda that that colonialists bring.
Right.
So now we have to stand against that and educate our people to have them know who they are and to understand that, listen, we were the first people on this planet. We created civilization, that white folks did not know anything about religion until we introduced them to it.
Right.
They did not know anything about divinity till we introduced them to it. So how come they are teaching us about these things? And why is it that we feel compelled to sit at their feet and as if they're bringing us some kind of superior information? That's due to the fact that we have lost our self-esteem. So, you know, and we don't blame our people for that. But we need to redeem ourselves from that. We need to wake up from that state and begin to assert our true African character.
Now, unlike the first generation African leaders who knew their enemies, their colonial masters, particularly European powers, these new leaders, this Bongo, Ndimba, Goodluck, Jonathan, Joseph, Juma, they don't feel that Europe is a threat. But Europe devised slavery. Europe devised colonialism 19 years after slavery to come and do this. Do these people know anything about history? Some of our leaders, do they know anything about history?
Of course, they know about history, but they don't care. I mean, what it is, you see, once again, we go back to what selfishness breeds and what elitism breeds. Because think about this, these so-called leaders, and you know, we shouldn't really be too concerned about what they think or what they do. We simply need to know that what they're doing is not in the best interest of our country, our continent, and our beloved people. That's all we need to know, and that's all we need to care about. In this country, the United States of America, if a president acts against the best interests of the United States of America, what do you think is going to happen to that president? You think the people are going to tolerate them? No, they're going to get rid of them. So you see, we are enslaved. We are actually slaves to ignorance. Because we do not know better, we allow these people to rule over us and do things that are against our best interests every day. And so, you know, if you look at a Zuma, it says in his best interest, if he is simply, like I'm saying, living in the state of instant gratification, where he has a nice house, a nice car, his chauffeur driven everywhere, he's making a good salary, that's what the system gives him in order to have him function in the manner that he does. The problem is that black people are celebrating it. They're looking at it and say, oh, I would like to be like that. You know, when they need to know that that's not how they want to be. They need somebody who will be able to help Africa to realize its greatness. Because Africa is wealthy, and we need to change that paradox. Why is Africa the wealthiest place on the planet and has the poorest race of people? Right. We need to change it. You know, that's an untenable paradox. And so what has to happen is that we have to educate our people. The tendency is that we're thinking that these leaders know better and they're doing better. No, they know what they're doing. They're looking out for themselves. That's why just about every single African leader has a Swiss bank account. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Right. If they cared about their people, why would they allow foreigners to bribe them to do wrong against their own?
But then what happened to us? What happened to us? Because first generation African leaders, say people like Kwame Nkrumah. Kwame Nkrumah took a blueprint of Marcus Garvey to get independence for Ghana and the whole entire Africa. It almost single-handedly did it, Kwame Nkrumah. But that was not everything wasn't his. The blueprint was already there, based on the organizational abilities of Marcus Garvey. But when Nkrumah did it, he didn't hide it. He even brought certain things to light so that people will remember, especially the Black Star Line in Ghana, in which our water deities, all the ships of Ghana were named after our water deities. That is religion by itself. That emancipation, religious emancipation by itself.
Absolutely.
And now, are you telling me that our new leaders don't read?
You know, you expect too much of them, Mr.
What do you expect me to do?
I know. It's a sad thing. But once again, the reality is that our people have to recognize. You see, if you are in a relationship or in a situation where you're being abused and you continue to take it, who are you going to blame?
Yourself.
Of course. So that's what I'm saying. You know, so if we're so dumb that we can't recognize when we are being abused and we keep on accepting it, then what should we say? You see, so what I'm saying is that we need to send a wake-up call to African people globally that, listen, you are being abused, You're being mistreated. In spite of the fact that slavery has changed its form from chattel slavery to a nice looking kind of slavery where slaves are now driving Mercedes Benzes and Rolls Royces.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But notwithstanding, that's where we are, and we need to change that. You see, one of the things I like to tell myself, I like to say to myself, that I am as well off as the worst African person on the planet.
Right.
You see? And that is my mantra, that's my motto, that's what guides me in terms of my own thinking, my own philosophy, and my own way of life. More of us need to do that. In fact, all of us need to do that. You know, so that, you know, the carrot on the stick won't work anymore, and the tokenism, you know, the establishment of token blacks and token Africans, you know, these individuals that are given a whole lot of wealth who do nothing for their people.
Right.
Yes, we need to change that paradigm. You see, you know, so it takes a psychological revolution in African people to bring that about. Because you know, we don't need weapons to change a thing. You know, we just need to change the way we think, and that's why there's a program like Divine Speech in African traditionalism.
I appreciate that. Now let's jump from Africa to the United States. We have our brother who's the president of the United States. And in the neighborhood, people are demoralized. People are saying that Barack Obama is skanking, you know, instead of talking. They want him to respond at a certain point or at the right time, but he never responds. What do you say about that?
Well, Barack Obama is doing what he was put in office to do.
Mm-hmm.
He is there to serve his masters. That's what he's doing. You know, African people are deluded if they think Barack Obama came to the presidency of the United States to do anything for black people. In fact, in the lead up to his election, I stated in my own radio programs that indeed people should not get excited about the selection of Barack Obama for presidency. Mm-hmm. And we need to do a couple of things. Let's look at it mathematically. In a racist country with a population of nearly 400 million people, right, of which black people probably about 30 to 40 million. Mm-hmm. Why is it that we would think that we'd have the capacity or the power to select a president, especially in our state of immobilization? Right. We are probably the most disorganized species on the entire planet. We have never gotten together. Do African people get together in their communities to plan anything? To plan how the roads are built, to plan how the power is supplied, how the cables works, how the water system works, how the schools work, anything? Do black people do that? No. So why is it that we think that all of a sudden a black man arriving on the horizon is going to be our savior, that somehow we have some input in doing that? Clearly, that was something that was premeditated by others, and it was done to pursue their own interests. And I stated over and over again that Africa was the target. This was just a scheme set up where a black person would do the dirty work in Africa. Let me ask you this. Do you think a white president could be bombing Libya the way they're doing it today and get away with it? No, it could never happen. So, you know, basically, the bombing of Libya represents the manifestation of Barack Obama's true purpose. We need to understand that Barack Obama is the chief executive officer of somebody else's corporation, not ours. And he's doing what he was hired to do. So, you know, when it comes to Barack Obama, I do not argue or even question what he does. He does, as far as I'm concerned, what he's doing is precisely what I expect.
As a veteran media personality, what is your take on this charter schools system that they're trying to impose on the neighborhoods, especially in the inner cities.
Good. You know, the whole charter school situation is a very interesting thing.